Lawmaker with the for the Gators. Okay. Oh, okay. I was just checking to see if you were listening.
From Destrehan, Louisiana. Hold on a second. Hey, guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
Momentum, excitement, energy. They say all this stuff, and you know what they mean, but it doesn't describe what you mean. It's just sort of out there.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
I was just worried about, listening to, all your guys' rap poison.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. Here are your hosts, Sergio and Tyler.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today, Tyler, we are talking all about week 6?
Who knows?
6.
Yes,
who knows?
We have week 6 into week 7.
6 of the college football season, baby.
It's week we've kind of figured it all out. But maybe
you know what
not.
it is? You know why I had trouble with the number of the week? Because this entire week, all I referred to it as was Red River Week. And that is what we are talking about today. In addition to the 4 other 5-wide games on our slate, we'll also talk about 2 points. We'll talk about one of these 2 podcast hosts having a perfect week in 5-wide and 2-point, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, all right.
Not to brag.
You're also the owner of the imperfect week. You're also the guy who lost every single thing once. Well, I got every single one, and I had an 8-point swing on you.
Get you a man who can do both. Okay, get you a man who can do both. We are then going to go into Around the Nation, and then we'll do our 5-wide and 2-point, where we will preview next week's week 7. And oh boy, it's not Red River, but it might be better in terms of on the field. It's going to be hard to top, but it definitely will be up there. We will talk about Oregon and Washington meeting up later on in the show. Tyler, let us begin with said Red River rivalry. Oklahoma 34, Texas 30. I get the points on this one. It seems like being loyal to your family paid off for me on this one. But I think more importantly, Dillon Gabriel cementing himself in Oklahoma legacy, Oklahoma lore forever, and having he got that dog in him game-winning drive in the biggest rivalry game, one of the biggest rivalry games in the country. Well done. What did you see in this game? What a football game, huh?
Well, this was, you kind of hit the nail on the head. My biggest takeaway of this game was Dillon Gabriel. And
big boy pants.
We knew Dillon Gabriel was a good college quarterback, but this was another step for him. Game-winning drive, game-winning throw. He was, I've been criticizing him for being a little reckless with his body, but I think it worked out in this game. And actually, I think he was kind of not as reckless with his body. They played smart. Is it weird that Oklahoma just kind of looked like the better team all day? And that's not a shot at Texas. That is more so a real compliment to what Oklahoma got up to. Because I actually don't have much different feelings about Texas at all in this game. I think that Texas is still the team I thought and then it was just like Oklahoma. They played a tough game, rivalry game. Even if Oklahoma was bad, it was going to be competitive. But Oklahoma played very well. Texas, I think, kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple times, but hung in there. I think everything is still within Texas's. For Texas, everything is still on the plate for them. They lost to a really good team in a rivalry game, a team they're probably going to face again and get a chance to avenge it. For anything, this just really cemented that Oklahoma is in a little. I would say is a tier a tier above where I thought they'd be this season.
Agreed.
I thought they'd be solid, but they look good.
Agreed. And listen, this is Brent Venables' statement win in every single facet of the phrase. Not only did they beat their biggest rival, not only are they still undefeated, not only did they just launch themselves, not just in Big 12 conversations, but college football playoff conversations, definitely. But on top of all of that stuff, Tyler, they won it playing incredible defense, disrupting Quinn Ewers, really challenging the Texas offense, especially in the first half, and especially to start the game, right? You had turnover to start the game, defense flying all over, laying hits, incredible open field tackles. you can really see the stamp and the identity that Brent Venables has put on this Oklahoma program. And I think this is that first moment where, everyone's kind of had their doubts on new coaches, right? We're Florida fans. We understand that concept, but of a divided fan base. And I know that the Oklahoma fan base was much more united behind Brent Venables than other fan bases with their coaches. But this was undoubtedly you cannot say anything like the hire was a success. This is the moment where we can close the book on Oklahoma and saying, was Brent the right hire? Because regardless of what happens after this is that proof of concept. We played the game we wanted to play. The defense, the offense played fantastic. I agree with you. Dillon Gabriel's statement game. This was his Heisman moment. That is not to say that I think he will win the Heisman.
But like a game-winning drive in a rivalry game of this magnitude,
and in a game that you played well in the entire time.
Yeah,
there wasn't an issue there.
If like this would be the Heisman moment of like players have Heisman moments, even though they have no way of winning the Heisman. It's that moment.
If there was a football version of the One Shining Moment basketball that they run video at the end of the tournament showing all the great moments, this is one of the moments that would be in the football version of the season, right? This Oklahoma performance, the game-winning touchdown drive. It was a minute 17 with no timeouts, and they drove 75 yards to score with I think like 14 seconds left, and just didn't give Texas a chance. Well, they had a chance, but really
Not
made it
really.
impossible.
No,
So
20
I
seconds.
loved the clock management at the end. They knew they were going to score. They were purposely not, spiking or hurrying. They were trying to limit the amount of time that Texas had it, because I said it watching the game. Whoever had the ball last was going to win the game. Both offenses were playing really well, Texas especially in the second half. And yeah, Texas didn't lose. Oklahoma didn't overpower. It was two great teams. Oklahoma had the ball at the end. They ended up being the one to score the game winner. And it is another great chapter in an incredible rivalry. And like you said, I hope everyone tuned in, because this was a Big 12 championship game preview, because I truly believe these are the two best teams in the conference. And they're definitely, in my opinion, going to meet in the championship game at the end of the season.
It is
well done
funny.
by both teams.
It's pretty funny to me that like we had the Big 12 season that we had last year. TCU going to the national championship, Kansas State winning.
Kansas State.
Yeah, and then like the parity was at an all-time high. And it's just like, oh, Oklahoma, Texas, this is like, you're kind of leaving before you head out of here. And then, oh no, it looks like they're the best two teams again.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that none of their
feel bad for the lower schools, but it is kind of funny.
And it doesn't help that the replacements haven't won a game yet, a conference game yet. So
well, we all knew that was going to happen.
Outside of BYU, but that's because they beat Cincinnati, who's another new member.
Which is nothing. This was a great game. Just full stop. Again, this is not a referendum on Texas in any way, and it's so funny. A large part of that is the fact that when they beat Alabama, Quinn Ewers got asked, "Is like, do you have anything to say to the Texas faithful?" And he said, "We got a lot more games to play, so I'm not gonna." He's just like, "I see what you're doing. I ain't making that mistake." And because he didn't make that mistake, I have no feeling to have a referendum on Texas, because I'm like, no, like this is a good game. Oklahoma's better than I thought they were. Like,
completely agree. This is one of the better versions of Red River. Probably the best one since the Dick or the Kicker game when he hits that game-winning field goal. But obviously, I didn't like that ending, so I'm gonna go ahead and say this ending in this game is the better one than the two. We're gonna move forward. I get the points there. Meanwhile, LSU 49, Missouri 39. We both get the points on this one, but man, were we sweating it out?
Because thanks to out here looking like Tom Brady. Like,
listen, man, they got some receivers out in Columbia, Missouri, and unfortunately, their quarterback decided to throw a horrendous red zone pick six.
It was bad.
For LSU to seal the deal, because they probably would have won the game, and we'd be having a different conversation if they didn't throw that pick six to.
That's the thing where we talked about how Oklahoma won, and all it did was make me feel better about them. Didn't say anything about Texas. I mean, I feel worse about LSU.
We're gonna have that conversation today. But
I truly was sitting there being like, okay, I know I've given Missouri a lot of crap, but I was like, this is a different level of opponent than they faced. And they beat Kansas State, but that clearly is like Kansas State's not the best version of themselves this year. They're still tough. and they won in an exciting fashion due to penalties and weird time clock management that should never have happened. But it was an excellent play on their part. But I was like, okay, yeah, but like, how many times have we seen like, oh, Missouri's coming in 5? This was the entirety of Drew Lock's like entire Missouri career. It was like, oh, they've been passing the ball real well. Then maybe they could beat like LSU or Georgia or Alabama. And no,
but this one,
but this
they
one
were
was
going
just
to.
like, they were going to. So I was like, again, I was like, I kind of feel. I was like, okay, so the Missouri thing is real. Like this is a real. And for LSU, I was like, I mean, Jaden Daniels is very good, and that offense is very good, and that defense does not know. They don't know what they're doing, which is an insane thing to say about LSU.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
The talent's all over the place.
They look unorganized. They looked like they can't tackle, and they look like they're just not interested in putting pressure on fill in the blank, right? Putting pressure on the quarterback when he's throwing, putting pressure on the offensive line when they're running the football. It's like not as like gusto, you know, there's not as much intensity as what you would expect from an LSU defense. You know what I mean? It reminds me of the end of the Mullen tenure when the offense was incredible for Florida and the defense was just non-existent, and it was such a stark contrast from the end of the McElwain tenure because the defense was so good and the offense was so bad. That's the similar vibe that I'm getting with LSU, where like Florida, they should have a physical, aggressive, high-level defense that is going to be in your face all the time, and it's going to make you difficult to score on them. But LSU, for some reason, this year just doesn't. And it's even more baffling when you have a top 5 draft pick in Harold Perkins, and it's just not happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing on that side of the ball, which is, again, just crazy for me. I do want to say, back on the Missouri side, I want to give a lot of credit to Eli Drinkwitz for something. An interview quote popped up that I don't know I don't think he said it this week, but it was somebody brought it up in reference to this week. And it was reference, and I didn't know that this is, and I think this is a huge part of what's happening with them. I didn't know this, but Eli Drinkwitz gave up play calling this season. He in an interview was like, yeah, I had to have a real hard look in the mirror and be like, okay, I like play calling. I think I'm good at play calling, but for the betterment of the team, because he was talking about like, you see how fast things can go from hot to not, like hot seat to build a statue in this conference. It's so quick.
Thanks, transfer portal.
For the betterment of the team, I gave that up to be more focused on other aspects and allow other. And I think like Brady Cook looks like a functioning quarterback this season, which he had not ever. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. And I think it was. I want to give Eli Drinkwitz a lot of credit for being that honest with himself and being like, "This is what I need to do to make the team better." Billy Napier, look at this, and I don't even know if this is the answer, but like it can be done.
I agree.
Not a thing that can happen this season. I just wanted to point it out.
Yes. Do agree, and I also think he saved his job doing that. Like he definitely saved his job because he was the one coach going into the season where we were like, is he gonna? We were making jokes. We were going, when the Missouri job opens,
we were confidently saying Missouri's going
very much.
He's
so.
going to get fired.
But hey, he saved his job and good for him. And I completely agree. Credit to him for taking a step back. It's like the Brian Kelly, who they played this weekend, but it's that whole thing of he goes 4-8 and he reevaluates everything and he's able to have this whole second arc at Notre Dame, and that second arc included making another playoff and getting close to and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree with you. Very good on that. We will both get the points there because we both picked them. Newsflash: I get the points every game. So every game this week, I get the points. Just want to emphasize that.
I got them for almost every game.
Oh, almost, meaning you're the first loser. Oh,
I was feeling good about the Texas one for a little bit in the end there. I was feeling good.
Oh, listen, the Texas one, I am not chewing my nails anymore because I'm an adult and I realize that. But the Texas one definitely had my nails near my mouth. Very nervous. Next up, Ohio State 37, Maryland 17. We both get the points on this one. This was a game up until the fourth quarter. And then I don't want to say the boys separating themselves from the men, but like the 5-star prospects separated themselves from the 3 and 4-star prospects is what that was.
You tried.
You tried. I did like what Maryland did in the first half. I did like what Maryland did in the first half. I did like how they continued it for a bit in the third quarter. But yeah, it was just bigger, stronger team wins, which is the same theme that happened in the next game, Tyler. Georgia 51, Kentucky 13. We both hit the points on that one, but the exception and the difference between the Kentucky game and the Maryland game is that Maryland actually made it a game throughout the majority of it, especially the whole first half and most of the third quarter, whereas Kentucky, I don't want to say they didn't show up to the game, but they got outmanned from the very beginning. I turned this game on at halftime when I got home from I took my sister to the Florida Panthers preseason game. That was a fun time for us.
Nice.
And I turned it on, and I think it was like 35-0, and I was like, oh, I didn't miss a single thing in this game. This was big yikes.
Look, I kind of said this. Friend of the pod, Eagles fan, Eagles fanatic Steven Peters, also just hot take aficionado. Like he's an overreaction king. You guys, this is making no sense to the viewers because they don't really know him, but
he's a great guy, and his takes are pretty crazy. Yes.
He had
sometimes they're crazy. Sometimes he's like Nostradamus and he really sees it.
Yeah. He saw the vision with Jalen Hurts, so I have to give him credit.
From day one. But
he also was like, bring me Chip Kelly to Florida. I was like, no. Which no, but
listen, if people don't like Billy Napier's running style offense, they're not gonna like whatever the 1946 I formation that's being run out at UCLA this year.
So but he put out a text that the morning of, it's just like, Kentucky's beating Georgia today. I was like, no. As much as I love it, it's not happening. Like, it's just like they have the dudes. Georgia's looked bad. And I'm like, dude. And what we said is what happened is like, Kentucky and Georgia play the exact same style, except for Georgia has better players across the board at every position. And a better coach. I mean, not marginally so. I think Mark Stoops is an excellent coach, but like,
we can definitely say Kirby's a better coach than
you could say. Yes, yeah, it's
fine.
not
They're
an insult
both
to Mark Stoops to say that. Like,
they're both top 15 coaches in our belief, but
better
Kirby's
coach,
two-time national champion
at home. Carson Beck started throwing the ball well last week. There's no way. Like, and again, we talked about it a lot. To beat Georgia, typically you have to have a star quarterback. You know, and a star passing offense is the only way that they really lost the last couple years.
Yeah, because they will out Kentucky you. Like, Kentucky tried to go in there and run the ball and be physical and play their brand of football, and I love that, but Georgia just does that same thing but better. So, unfortunately.
You can't beat that's the thing, is that you can't beat them at their game. They're the best in the biz.
Correct. That is true. The final game in 5 wide, Louisville 33, Notre Dame 20. I get the points on this one. Tyler, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think you can win a football game if you turn the football over 5 times?
Well, the Jacksonville Jaguars won a football game when they turned it over 4 times, but that was at the last second by field goal. So I'm going to say no.
I also think just the sheer fact that you are invoking the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think kind of proves my point there. No offense. But like historically,
I should not have agreed to let you ask me a question. Never
you
again.
Brought up the Jags.
Never
I
again.
didn't bring up the Jags at all. I wasn't expecting you to go there. I was expecting
how dare you reverse this on me?
Hey, listen, you know what? I probably shouldn't have done that. You guys did repay the favor this weekend, and I appreciate that. As you are a Duval boy in it, so
oi, Duval in it, bro.
Oi, Duval boy in it.
Off the pond there.
I love it. Anyway, the point being, Notre Dame turned the football over 5 times in this game, and they had an additional turnover on downs. So technically, it was 6.
That's 6 turnovers. Yeah.
And as shown in this football game, Louisville is good. Like, capital G, good football team. I don't want to say great, but definitely good. And it's just so fun to see because this is yet another wrinkle in the ACC. The ACC is so much fun this year. Like, we talked a lot about the Pac-12, and rightfully so. We've talked about how the SEC is kind of in a down year in terms of, top to bottom and consistency. But the middle of the Pac-12 and the middle of the ACC, like the middle to upper tiers, are all so fun to watch. And it just gives so many more stakes. And I can't wait for the Louisville Kentucky game at the end of the year. I can't wait. I can't wait for Louisville, North Carolina. Like, there's so many games now that I can't wait because Louisville showed us that they can not only compete, but like they're really good football team. Did you like it?
It's also I also will have to say I feel bad for Notre Dame. I say this. I don't say this lightly. Takes a lot for me to say this.
Sorry, that was
I almost killed Sergio.
You did what? You what for Notre Dame?
Sergio took a sip of water as I said that. I almost killed him.
Whoa! I mean, you think you know a guy? Jeez.
No, the 4 straight top 25 matchups is with no bye in between is pretty tough. The 2 of them being like Ohio State and then next week USC. And then Louisville and Duke are good, and they're going to win. They won 1, so they might win 2 at most. But you can. This is again, Notre Dame. If you were in a conference, maybe you could schedule this out a little bit better. Not that it matters. But
wait, Tyler, I took off my Notre Dame hater hat for a second because I wanted to say I agree with you. I do think this year is one of those years where, despite not being in a conference, and because my hater hat is off, I'm not going to say what I want to say. Because of that fact, it seems like this year they have been more tested more because of that. Even if they were to join the ACC, which they're contractually obligated to do if they want to join a conference, this year would have been difficult. The teams that they went down to the wire with Duke, they won the game, they lost to Louisville, and then the other 2 games, those 2 of that 4-game stretch, those are the 2 games that they expected to be easy, and they lost one of them, and the other one was not easy, and they lost. And then on the other hand, you have non-conference where you schedule in Ohio State, you lose the game, and we'll talk about the USC game, annual rivalry game, later on in the episode. But yeah, taking my hater hat off, it's tough. I will agree.
It actually bothers me. He's putting it back on.
Yeah. But they should join a conference because it's kind of ridiculous. There we go. It was like it's like taking a sip of water after you eat some food that's stuck. You kind of got to get it through, pass it. Now you feel better.
It does. I will say it bothers me that USC Notre Dame is never on the same week. I hate it.
Yeah, like what kind of rivalry doesn't have a consistent schedule? 3rd Saturday in October. We know that's Tennessee, Alabama. Like, how do we not have a consistent rivalry week for the Bush Push game? That game gave us the Bush Push. Like, come on.
Anyway, the other thing that I do feel sad about, and this is just for us, is that Notre Dame's been officially eliminated from playoff contention, and because they don't have a conference championship game to win. Which the only reason I feel bad about this is that I really wanted to see Sam Hartman up on the big stage, but that was just me enjoy for fun, because I really felt like Sam Hartman gave Notre Dame a shot to really contend. Of course, the answer is not enough because they're not really contending, and these are the games that they should be winning. But this is. I want to be very clear. It's just that's a version of this season that we're not going to get. Okay, it's sad because you now know that that's not happening, but I'm not really that sad for it.
I'm not going to agree with you in saying I'm sad that happened, but it's okay. I know how I can help your sadness because I'm pretty sure next year you'll be able to see Sam Hartman in a Head and Shoulders commercial because the hair and beard game is so strong.
His hair is so good.
It's incredible. How does he get it that black? It's like no,
prayer,
it's
baby.
Like space black. Like it's
prayer.
Touchdown Jesus. I'm not
touchdown Jesus, baby.
I'm not going there.
That's
We're moving forward.
Baby. That's the power of Jesus Christ.
I'm not getting a text message from my mom telling me I'm not doing it. I am being a good Catholic son and not going to say what I wanted to say. We're moving forward. 2-point conversion. Tyler, you picked Texas Tech to beat Baylor, and they did so emphatically 39-14. So you get the 2 points there. And I picked Wyoming to beat Fresno State, and they did 24-19, and I get those points.
I got so excited when I got the score update that because I put notifications on for this game. I always put notifications on for Sergio's 2-point conversion pick. I want to know if he loses.
See, when you're up big, they just want to see your downfall, guys.
Okay.
Coach Prime, you can use that one for this weekend. That's a free
Wyoming. When Wyoming was up 24-10, and then 24-11, and all of a sudden they were only up 24-19.
Yeah, it was getting scary.
And I was like,
Mikey Keene was doing.
There was enough time. There was enough time that they could do something with that. And I was getting real into. And no.
Yeah, Mikey Keene, who UCF may have wished that he stayed on the roster, but Mikey Keene was doing some things that made me pretty nervous. That he's good.
May have wished he stayed on the roster.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
The score to date is Sergio 36, Tyler 29. So it is a one-score game. It's still a one-score game. No, it's not embarrassing. You only had. Oh damn! I thought you had 3 in the 5 wide. You only had 2.
Embarrassing.
Anyway, we're gonna move forward. Let's go quickly around the nation. Speaking of embarrassing, Georgia Tech 23, Miami 20.
A+ transition. A+.
Thank you. I know when it's appropriate to do. I was gonna try to make a taking a knee joke, but I stumbled so hard. It wasn't as I didn't stumble as hard as Mario Cristobal.
Oh, you mean such as like fumbling the ball? You fumbled the bag?
Tyler, let me ask you one more question. If you are up by any amount and you have the football under a minute and your opponent doesn't have any timeouts and can't stop you.
Oh, it's a wrap.
But what do you do when it's a wrap?
Oh, you knee.
You take a knee. And why do we take a knee, Tyler?
Well, because they are going to try to punch the ball out because they're trying to get the ball back.
Of course,
there's no other way, and it's just like this is the safest way. You might even do that thing where you like take the ball with you a little bit and you back it up a little bit
for the extra time. Yeah.
I mean, this is college football. We're like just hitting the knee on the ground, you're automatically out. It's not like the NFL where it's like you got to be touched to go down.
Right,
the referees to make a judgment. No, like you just take a knee.
And on top of that, you would maybe want to prevent not only putting the ball on the ground and turning the ball over, but injury. You never know what happens on a play. You don't want to lose someone on an injury because of a late game situation. But it seems like Miami and Mario Cristobal specifically didn't want to do that and instead decided to run the football multiple times. Miami ends up fumbling. 2 plays and 70-something yards later, Georgia Tech scores a touchdown to win the football game. And I have never seen a Miami fan base. Okay, so there's a few moments that are like engraved in this South Florida sports culture regarding the Hurricanes. Negative moments. One of them. There's the blowout loss to Virginia Tech to close out the Orange Bowl, which was just the subject of you guys are embarrassing. There was the game against FIU with the massive brawl. You remember that game?
Yeah.
Where those are 2 like dirty stains on the program in that sense. And now we have Mario Cristobal deciding to not take a knee. Did you see his assistant coaches being like, hey, take a knee. It's over.
I did.
And even then he didn't listen.
There's just no way you can defend this. There's nothing to defend.
Not at all. I just want to emphasize, we here at Sideline Judgment, we would have taken a knee. I just want to point this out.
Absolutely.
Sideline Judgment, we want to be public on our stance. We are taking a knee in that situation. We are not going to do what Mario did.
Now, when I play college football revamped, I got a little bit of that Urban Meyer in me where I'm like, one more touchdown. Just one more.
Yeah, but that's a video game.
Yes.
And you don't get paid close to $100 million to play that game. Exactly. It's insane, dude. Seriously, on like taking our.
I just want to take a knee because I want to say take a knee because when you get to take the figure formation, you get to take the headset off. You get to like, and someone who works on set with walkie talkies constantly. There's no greater feeling at the end of the day when you get to take that earpiece out and you know it's done. Like, and it was just like, just that feeling of like, we did it. Take the thing off.
It's called victory formation for a reason. You win. You won. Yeah, you're supposed to take pride in that. But like, oh my God, serious question. And taking our Florida fandom out of it and our adjacent Miami rivalry out of it. Is this one of like the worst in-game coaching decisions you've ever seen?
Yes.
Because I was trying to think all weekend. I was trying to think of a worse one. And I honestly, maybe the only thing that came to my mind was Marco Wilson throwing the shoe against LSU. But that wasn't a coaching decision.
That's not a coaching decision.
That was Marco. I'm going to stop talking about that. I don't want to get mad.
No. Stop.
We're done there.
Don't do that to yourself.
But that wasn't a coaching decision.
I mean, there's always like crazy 2-point conversion choices or like not going for 2 or like kicking a field goal when you're down 14 points so that you're just like, Cole, you made a 2-score game, things like that. Here's the thing. I can't think of a worse. I'm trying to think in this moment of a worse one. I can't think of one. The reality is like, how can there not be a worse coaching decision? Like, and also I'm glad, the craziest thing is that this has happened to Mario Cristobal before. This happened at Oregon.
Well, here's the thing. It happened at Oregon, but it wasn't nearly like, I heard Sideline Judgment talking about this on the Hurry Up, and Richard Johnson referenced and said, did I say Sideline
Yeah,
Judgment?
you said us. I'm like, I haven't talked about this
Sorry.
yet. So
I heard on Split Zone Duo, my fault. On Split Zone Duo, I heard Richard Johnson on the Hurry Up episode where they talk about the week's games. He was saying the same thing you were saying. Like, yeah, people were referring this mistake to the one against Stanford, but that was kind of different. Like, the game was still a little bit imbalance, and I think they had timeout, so they could have maybe called the timeout and stopped the clock, whatever. This was like, the game was like capital O over. It was like, oof, okay, we maybe shouldn't have played as poorly as we did, but we got out a victory, and he just like choked it away. It was crazy.
I mean, I will say credit to Georgia Tech for being able to make the plays, because they still have a ways to go. But
Absolutely.
Haynes King throwing that ball, like, as time expired, what a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, he definitely got revenge from when he was at A&M last year. He definitely they probably were talking some trash or whatever.
I forgot where I'd heard his name before, and I was just like, because he definitely was not on Georgia Tech.
Well, A&M won that game last year, but like definitely he was like, you want me to do it again? I'll do it again. Let's run through the rest of these games so we can get to talk about some football.
That was worth the amount of time that we spent.
That was a 5-wide adjacent subject right there. Like, that was
how often does a coaching decision matter so much that you bump your game into the 5-wide?
I literally moved it, because when I write the rundown, I write them in the order that the ESPN gives it to me, and it's usually by kickoff time. I moved this game to the top of the ACC, and I put the ACC first, because I was like, this is the first thing we got to talk about it first. Fun fact, my stepmom's brother, Javi, we had a celebration Saturday. We were hanging out here, grandma's birthday, and he was like, oh, I'm going to go. I was like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, I'm going to the Miami game. I got like free suite tickets. I was like, oh, cool. Have fun. And he was like, Georgia Tech, I'm going. I got free tickets in the club. Might as well experience it. I'll probably leave at halftime. I hope he stayed. I haven't texted him yet, but I hope he stayed.
You got to give him the time to.
I do. All right. ACC. Quickly, FSU 39, Virginia Tech 17. FSU, still good. Still confirmed. UNC 40, Syracuse 7. Tez Walker declared eligible, was able to play in this game, looked good in this game. Going to be another weapon for Drake May, who looked also really good in this game. Take care of business. They win the game. Clemson 17, Wake Forest 12. This is not the Wake Forest that we are all used to in terms of, the one with Sam Hartman and all that, and the difficult team to play. They don't have the players this year, and Clemson, man, it's kind of sad just to see them go down like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just
especially how well they played Florida State. Especially how well they played them.
And how well this is just they are the equivalent. They are the perennial. This year, this is the team that plays to the level of their competition.
Yep.
Unless they're playing against Syracuse, which apparently they just owned this year.
Well, they've always owned Syracuse,
which is weird though, because Syracuse usually plays them to the level of their competition.
Right. Exactly.
No, and Clemson dominates everyone else, but this year the tables have flipped. Clemson they won. Credit to them, but
it's just different. It's just not what we expect.
It's just a different year for Clemson, and
I like Cade Klubnik. That's the thing. Like, I like him as a quarterback prospect, but whatever. And then Virginia 27, William & Mary 13. I just wanted to celebrate Virginia for getting a win. I know it's an FCS school, but good for them. We're going to go out west real quick. We're going to go out west real quick to the Pac-12. USC 43, Arizona 41 in triple overtime. USC, Alex Grinch, we need to have a conversation because you kept me up till 2:30 in the morning, and I had to get up early on Sunday morning. And I'm literally laying in bed like this. Like, can we end this football game? Like,
I had that thought because it was 11:30 for me, and I'm like, damn, this is pretty late.
Yeah, well, you got used to the early football.
I had thought, it's like, all my friends that are still watching this are so much worse off than I am.
Oh my God, the struggle I had to get up on Sunday. What
to say? Well, we said this before the show, and it kind of feeds into the other Arizona game. The two Arizona schools, not good, either of them, I add, but trending positively in the right direction for both programs.
Mm-hmm. Good season so far relative to their expectations.
Yeah, and I said like Arizona State's like basically they're like tanking this season in the way, which doesn't happen in college football because of the way the sanctions are. They're like, just get it out now, and they're actually still playing well even with all those sanctions. Arizona was in such a bad place,
yeah,
and they're starting to go. the quarterback for Arizona, I forgot his name, had an insane stat line that has only ever been achieved in the Pac-12 by other USC quarterbacks.
That's wild.
It he played super well. I think it was a terrible decision by it was a terrible 2-point call for them that lost them the game. But this is that thing where it was if you keep going overtime and keep dragging the game out, the team with greater talent will eventually prevail more times than not. But Arizona was aggressive. Arizona really they jumped out to a lead. I have thoughts on Caleb Williams that I feel like will get me locked up by sports talk community.
I also have thoughts on Caleb Williams, but given by your preface, I don't think
Well,
we're gonna
I'm probably overreacting, but I just it is insane to me how quickly everybody's just like he's the next big thing. Which like you're also talking to the guy who knew his team was drafting Trevor Lawrence and was still trying to pump the brakes on everybody, being
that's true.
Hey, it was like he's the best prospect since Andrew Luck, and I'm like, he was. It's like he still hasn't played a down in the NFL. We don't know how it was going to work out, and it looked like it wasn't going to work out because Urban Meyer did negative damage to him. Mm-hmm. Like he had negative development in his first year, and now he looks great. But you don't know, and everybody's just like, oh, he's going to be the next big thing. Tank for him, and I was like, I don't know, because my big thing is that, like, what's this guy's what does Caleb Williams gonna look like when he doesn't get 6 seconds to throw the ball? He is Zach Wilson right now.
Okay, wild take. Number one,
he is 2020 Zach Wilson to me right now.
I get that.
And Caleb Williams, incredibly talented. I realize he is obviously better, but the way that he's making his most dynamite plays right now is by hanging in the pocket and improvising, which is the whole thing that Zach Wilson did, and he was so great at BYU. And the problem is, you can't build an offense out of that at the professional level.
I agree.
And I mean, what is he going to look like when he's not in a Lincoln Riley offense, which also has an incredible run game and is one of the best design offenses in the country, and he has incredible receivers. And
I'll tell you what
I just am like, Drake May and Michael Penix Jr. are so much closer to him than I think people are giving him credit for.
I can see that. I agree. I can agree with that. I think Drake May and Penix Jr. are closer to Caleb Williams, and people think that drop off is after Caleb Williams. Before I go and give you my Caleb Williams thing, I do want to point out Noah Fifita is the quarterback for Arizona. 25 for 35, 303, 5 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but that was really good.
I don't care about that.
Want to give him credit. The reason why I think everyone is so, oh my God, Caleb Williams, and especially the draft heads, is because if you noticed at the end, especially at the end of the game, which I think is even more impressive, Lincoln gives him so much ownership and authority of the offense. They operate their offense unlike a traditional college offense in the sense of Caleb is involved in the play calling. He allows and teaches Caleb, reads the defense, makes the adjustment, switches the play call, and from there they go ahead. It's very much what you used to see Peyton Manning do, where he would get to the line. Okay, this is the play call that we called. I see this. Nope, I don't like that. I don't like that. Switch this. Omaha, go. That's what Peyton Manning would do, switching up at the line of scrimmage. Caleb Williams, at a very young age, I think he's 20 years old, only his third season playing in college football, has not mastered, but is definitely good enough and is trusted enough by one of the best offenses in college, or one of the best offensive minds in college football, and maybe in football, period. He is trusted to have that ownership, and I think teams are looking at that, and not only the elusiveness, not only the cannon of an arm, not only the accuracy, not only the ability to create your own plays and scramble and do all those things, but he is doing things that there are a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL right now, some of them starting for football teams, that can't do that. And that is something that it's not that you can't teach it, but if that guy's going into the draft with that on top of all of the physical abilities that we know he has, that is a recipe for success. So that's why I pump the brakes a bit. And I look at this a lot like a top offensive line prospect that is stuck at like a Northwestern or a G5 school that draft people don't pay attention to. And it's like, where did this guy come from? And it's like, he's been playing at this, like doing this for years now. People just didn't notice. I kind of equate it to that, except he's playing in Los Angeles. He's playing, he's the
He's the most
player,
visible college football player in the country, even more than
Heisman
Shedeur
Trophy
Sanders.
winner,
Like,
all that stuff. So that's why it's kind of getting.
I just need to see him play and win in structure more. Like the improv is great. Here's the thing: everybody's doing the Mahomesian thing, and maybe I'm a little take because I kind of watched a lot of First Things First, and Nick Wright is going way too crazy about this.
It's because he reminds people of Mahomes, and
he's so on the Caleb bandwagon, and he does have that Mahomes improv quality. But it's like, and to be credit, the reason that Patrick Mahomes succeeds now is that he's such a command over the offense. He's very smart as a player, on top of the improv playmaking skills that he brings. I'm trying to pump the brakes on people. Maybe this is just me being like, everybody else is too high. I need to bring everybody back down, because I need to see him like multiple times last night, especially late in the game. He just stood in the pocket for like 6 straight seconds. Nobody got to him. He moved around, found somebody. That's amazing, and it's great that you can make that play. You can't win consistently with that. I need to see them.
You can do that.
I want to see USC play more in structure. Because if they were playing more in structure, they wouldn't have been dropped down to a 17-0 deficit.
And you can do that against Arizona's front four. You can't do that when Aaron Donald's coming at you. You can't do that when Christian Wilkins coming out. You know what I mean?
But this is not a professional. This is not a professional football podcast.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is a podcast that focuses on college football, and right now in the Pac-12, you have UCLA beating Washington State 25-17. This conference is good. Oregon State beat Cal 52-40. This conference is good. And Colorado snuck out of Tempe and beat Arizona State 27-24. Tyler, this conference is good.
Yeah, this conference is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I love that Washington State was kind of took a step back, not because of I don't want them to take a step back, but I just think it's the competitiveness of the conference. I love that Oregon State came back in. Listen, Washington State losing and Oregon State winning keeps our dream of a Washington State Oregon State Pac-12 championship game alive. Is it likely? No.
No.
I want it to happen?
It's not likely.
Yes.
Yes. As much as I love the other teams, I kind of want them to all eat each other up. And then
yeah. Well, we'll talk more about the Pac-12 when we get to 5 wide. So we'll move forward to the SEC. Alabama 26, Texas A&M 20. Jimbo
I think we should push the Nick Saban conversation to next week.
Oh, well, that's a given. We don't have enough time to talk about the Nick Saban. No, there's too much to open there. But I do quickly want to mention, while we will push the Nick Saban combo for the next week, I do want to mention that there was a moment when Texas A&M punted the football on the opposing 40 with under like 2 or 3 yards, and it was just very deflating because Jimbo Fisher's making Saudi oil money and not giving Saudi oil results. I hate how that sounded.
Moving on.
Moving forward. Ole Miss 27, Arkansas 20. My gut reaction when I see this score isn't Ole Miss coming back to reality, Ole Miss playing to the level of their competition, things that we already knew and saw. I feel bad for Arkansas.
I do too. I had nothing to say about Ole Miss in this game. Everything I had to say is about Arkansas. That I'm like, I really feel bad because it looked like the Sam Pittman era was going to go a little bit better than it's been going. But I talk a lot to friend of the pod, Courtney Mims, about this, and she is kind of been like, they just, Dan Enos is the offensive coordinator, and they're very run, pass. Oh, it's a 4th down. Let's do a Mullen style QB draw at a shotgun.
It's very your 13-year-old cousin playing Madden,
Which, it's this thing.
Let me rephrase that. Your 13-year-old cousin playing NCAA revamped, because this is college podcast.
It's just think Danny knows can coordinate good offenses. The thing is, and he has done so at Arkansas in his previous stop there. The thing is that when you play a more simplistic style of offense, you gotta be efficient. You have to have efficient players. It's like Georgia doesn't do anything fancy. Like they haven't done anything fancy this year. They don't need to. The problem is that Arkansas is playing at a deficit, and you can't just. It's the Kentucky thing. You can't just line up and beat people. If you don't have the guys to do it, you can't play that bully ball type of style. And
And
right
they have a
this year they
quarterback.
don't have. They have a quarterback, but they don't. I don't
Yeah.
think they have.
They're not using him properly. They're not using KJ Jefferson in the way they should, is my opinion. So, Mississippi State 41, Western Michigan 28. Just put it there. And then Florida 38, Vanderbilt 14. I think our Gators, this game, this is what I expected in terms of score, but I just think it's this thing where a Florida game never feels fulfilling unless it's a game where we're not expected to win. Because if we do a game like this where we're expected to win and we look not as sharp in the first half as we want, but we still end up winning the game handedly and decidedly, like unquestionably, it's still like the focus is always on but we didn't start well. It's like, okay, but we ended really well.
I don't know what more you could really realistically ask for out of this game. When you look at Vanderbilt's yardage and everything like that, they got 14 points off of 2 explosive plays.
Yep.
That's gonna happen, especially and
if we can all agree that Vanderbilt is better than they have been in the past, then they should be able to knock off 2 explosive plays.
This is one of the lowest point totals Vanderbilt's put out all season. Like, Vanderbilt has an okay offense. And it's like when you get the majority of your passing yards off of 2 massive chunk plays, you wish that you didn't give those up. I'll take 2 chunk plays and shutting them down the rest of the game and scoring 38 points on offense. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I really this was to me what I wanted, and it's what I got, and I'm going to be happy about it. Like,
I want to remind everyone the Florida Gators are 4-2 with the chance to be 5-2 going into the bye week before Georgia, which a couple weeks ago after the Tennessee win, I said this team could be 6-1, but 5-2 would still be a very good first half result.
We've got
given where we've been.
Tough back half of the schedule.
We will talk about that later because I do not want to get sad right now.
No, yeah. We really need to just wait on this.
No. Let's talk about other fan bases being sad. The Big 12. Kansas 51, UCF 22. This game's this is so I saw what did you say?
Mike Gundy, man. Surprise. Like Mike Gundy.
Well, I skipped ahead to Kansas UCF because I
was still talking about Oklahoma.
No. I was transitioning from a Florida school that had a win. I said
my apologies.
Transition over. But that's okay because you were late to that score and to this game, just like UCF was, because they decided they didn't want to play in the first half and they got boat raced. I did see something on Twitter where it was like, we misused the term boat raced. Boat raced means you start the game and you like basically are behind from the jump because a boat gets in front of you and they race ahead of you and you can't make it up.
Even if you get going, you can't
catch up and make up.
That was like Florida's ICC championship game with Kyle Trask. Is that it's just like okay, Florida got going, but you were always a score or 2 down you
were never going to make it up.
You're never going to be able to catch up to that. And
right, that is getting boat raced. UCF got boat raced. These 22 points came all in the second half, I believe, and I think Kansas was up massive. There was a point because this game was on around the same time as the Florida game where I flipped back before leaving for the hockey game, and it was like, oh, Kansas scored again. It's 28-0. It was like, oh, yikes.
It's tough out here. It's tough joining the Big 12. It's tough joining the Power 5.
I will say it is my UCF friends chat was inactive this Saturday, and the only text I got was from our friend Matt, who had his lovely first child, or his baby girl. He was it was nighttime. It was dark. She was sleeping. He was holding her, and he sent us like a little Snapchat. It was like him, and he was like watching my preferred quarterback, and he flipped the camera, and it was the Fresno State game because he was watching Mikey Keene. I was like, this is gold.
They're down bad.
No conversation about UCF. Strictly, hey man, Mikey King is fun to watch. That was the activity.
When a powerhouse like Kansas comes to town,
I love that phrase. I love that phrase.
Kansas playing their backup quarterback and dropped 50 on you.
Oh, imagine saying that in like 2016.
Could you really remember that?
Hey, Kansas State had their backup and
Remember
dropped
when
50.
they had Kansas Rutgers game that was like, this is the
Oh,
worst. This is the worst teams ever.
and
And
we
Kansas is
actively
like
sought out
good
to watch
now.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And Rutgers is like
Rutgers is fine.
doable, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's a big step.
Big step. Big step. And elsewhere in the Big 12, Oklahoma State 29, Kansas State 21. That was a Friday night game. Yeah, like you said earlier, Gundy pulled one out.
I hate, we give him a lot of crap because he says crazy things and he
Because
very
he's Mike
clearly is an abrasive personality in that locker room. But he's still, he is, you got to admit, he's a good coach.
Yeah,
Like,
no, he is.
and coaches are people, and people have ups and downs and are not consistent like video game numbers or things like that. That people
Correct.
think they are. But Mike Gundy's he's still a good coach. And
Speaking of coaches that are still good and can still win football games, Iowa State 27, TCU 14. Tyler is ecstatic. out in LA.
vindication, he isn't bad.
And this is what, the third straight win, I believe? Second.
Well, no, because they lost to Oklahoma.
They lost to OU that week. That's right. So
yeah.
second win, so they lost that game, but still they're playing good. They're playing better football. They're improving. Interesting to see where that goes. So
yeah,
we'll quickly run through the rest of these. In the American, UAB 56, USF 35. Sure, fine. UConn 38. Right, yeah. Tyler's making a face. He's like,
I did not know that this was the score of that game.
This was the score of that game. Yes, Trent Dilfer winning a football game and doing so in convincing fashion and screwing up USF +3. All right, screwing up USF +3. I thought it was a lock. Ugh, UConn 38, Rice 31. I put this here because UConn, I think it's their first win of the season, and Rice. I was hoping Rice could get bowl eligible. Now I don't know if they can do it because they really needed to win this game, but hopefully we'll see. And then FAU 20, Tulsa 17. FAU getting the win, first win in the American. Go Owls! Shout out. Raul sent me a video of the fans at the game swinging Sweet Caroline, and they go Sweet Caroline, bum bum bum. They go FAU, and I was like, oh, that's fun. That's cool. I don't think I'd heard that before. Love that. Might be a new thing in Boca. Put a smile on my face.
Nice.
Might have to head out at some point this season to go see it in person. I should go. It's the American now. I got to get to a game this year. I try to go to one a year. Keep myself humble. Keep myself feeling like a kid again. I got to get out there. Big Ten. Nebraska 20, Illinois 7. That game was on Friday. Illinois is bad. And Nebraska, proof of concept. They beat a team they should have beat. Very happy with that. If you have anything to say about these games, please interrupt me.
I truly don't. Other than I truly don't have any. I don't have any takes.
Michigan 52, Minnesota 10, Wisconsin 24, Rutgers 13, Northwestern 23, Howard 20, Iowa 20, Purdue 14. I think Iowa scored their points. I think it was only like one offensive touchdown was in this game.
Shocker.
Yeah, color me crazy. In the Mountain West, Boise State 35, San Jose State 27. Boise needed this game really badly. Good for them. Utah State 44, Colorado State 24. And then in the Sun Belt, we have Louisiana 34, Texas State 30, Troy 37, Arkansas State 3. That defense is still good. South Alabama 55, Louisiana Monroe 7. Louisiana Monroe, big yikes. Old Dominion 17, Southern Miss 13. Tyler, we are moving forward to 5 wide for this week. We begin with the biggest game of the week, hands down, potentially one of the biggest games. When it's all said and done, this might be one of the games we look back on as one of the most important games in college football this year. That is the Oregon Ducks heading to Seattle to take on the Washington Huskies. 3:30 Eastern kick on ABC. Game day is in Seattle for this game. If you are not aware, yes, we know Oregon and Oregon State have a rivalry. Yes, we know Washington and Washington State have a rivalry. We now know that Washington State and Oregon State have like a brothership because of all the things that are going on. But it doesn't mean and it doesn't excuse, and we don't forget that Oregon and Washington hate each other. And I mean,
they hate each other.
Hate each other. This is a rivalry, capital R. This is Florida, Georgia. This is Oklahoma, Texas in terms of border states that really don't like each other. Oregon, Washington is one of them. Tyler, I get the first pick on 2 Point this week, which means you go first on 5 wide. So, Tyler, who do you got, Oregon or Washington?
I hate that I am picking first because every
It's
point I
tough, man.
make in
This
my
one's tough.
head for one team, I hear it for the other as well.
And rightfully
Um,
so. And rightfully so.
it's Oregon, I would say, is the more complete team. Marginally, Washington is a complete team on their own right, but Oregon is a more complete team, offense, defense. But Washington has the trump card of their passing offense is elite. I don't think there's another word for it. It's just they have an elite passing offense.
It's the best passing offense in the country, hands down.
And Oregon's offense is great, and Oregon's defense is great, and Washington's defense is good. But yeah, Washington's offense is their pass attack is elite. They have NFL receivers. It's so I think
A Heisman quarterback, a Heisman contending
for
quarterback,
sure. A Heisman
an
quarterback.
incredible offensive coordinator who's been working with that same system for 2 years now.
I think
Saban couldn't get him. Sorry, I cut you off again. Saban couldn't get that I want to emphasize Saban couldn't get this coordinator because he wanted to stay because he knew who he had in that offensive quarterback and wide receiver room. Big things.
The only thing that I think Oregon has an edge here is that Washington's offensive line has been a little banged up recently. And Oregon has a good defensive line. They could get some pressure up the middle. That might disrupt Michael Penix and his timing and everything like that. But I think Washington knows that and is going to plan for that. And I'm going to go with Michael Penix Jr. I'm going to go with the Washington Huskies.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because if you were to pick Oregon after the analogy I'm about to give you, I don't think you could have survived and would have lived with yourself, at least not through the rest of the week. Tyler, this is Florida, Georgia in the 90s.
Interesting.
With Washington being our beloved Steve Spurrier-led Florida Gators. And Oregon being, I don't want to say completely in the 90s. This to me feels like 90s Florida against the more recent version of Georgia, but not as like full throttle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is what this matchup is to me. And I also am going to take Washington because I agree with your offensive line take that the Oregon Ducks have a better line game and stuff, but I really believe,
and like this isn't like the Colorado situation. Like they have a marginally better thing, but
yeah. But I just think that the offensive firepower here is going to be fun. Also, the game's in Seattle. You told me this before the air that the line is Washington -3, which means that they're just giving Washington the 3 points because they're at home. So they basically think it's a toss-up of a game.
Game is sold out, by the way. Officially, they announced.
Game is officially sold out.
Yeah,
and it's a big rivalry game. This is the Michael Penix. This is the Michael Penix show. This is the Michael Penix Heisman moment. Capital H, capital M Heisman moment. And I don't think we see Bad Bo Nix rear his ugly head. I don't. I think it's going to be a good game. But yeah, I'll take Washington. Ooh, what a game.
Nice.
Can't wait. Number 10, USC taking on number 21, Notre Dame. It is a 7:30 Eastern kickoff on NBC and Peacock. If you have Peacock and don't have access to NBC. 4 straight week, Notre Dame makes the 5 wide. But like we said earlier, kind of deservedly so.
Their schedule's crazy. Their schedule's crazy.
Crazy this year. We'll give it to them. I have the first pick here, and actually I am going to go with Notre Dame, and it's because I don't trust this USC defense to be able to maintain. Now, some would think, I think I said last week or the week before that I thought USC was going to beat them because of the offensive firepower that they kind of are going to keep up. But after what we saw with Arizona this past week, I think Notre Dame's defense is better than Arizona's. And there were a lot of things that made the USC offense struggle at times. And the score was more inflated because it was a triple overtime game. So there were an additional 15 points, an additional 17 points with the 7 from the first overtime, the 8 from the second, and the additional 2 point after that. So I think there's room to be made there. And I just think Notre Dame, they haven't lost. Well, they lost this past week because they turned the ball over 5 times, but they didn't lose that Ohio State game because they were bad necessarily. Ohio State just played a good game, taking away the 10 guys on the field at the end of the game, but that's another conversation. Sorry, I had to do it. And also it's a night game, and there's a big deal about South Bend at night. And as much as I make fun of Notre Dame and as much as they irk me with their lack of conference affiliation, I do think that they are, a big brand. And I think that they show up for these rivalry games at home. And honestly, I don't think Marcus Freeman can afford to lose 2 of those games in 3 and 4 weeks. That's my biggest thing. I think Notre Dame's going to win this game because they have to. And I think that USC suffering their first loss on the road to a big rival may not be the worst thing in the world in terms of their goals for this season, because this has nothing to do with the Pac-12 title race. And I think them losing one game and it being on the road to Notre Dame will, factoring in the bias, will still be enough for them, if they can turn it around, to make it into the playoffs. Especially if this is like they lose this game and then they wake up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's my opinion. That's my take. What about you?
Okay, I gave an impassioned speech earlier about why I think everybody's too high on Caleb Williams, and I just need to see a little bit more of certain things. And we have talked extensively about how we don't believe in Alex Grinch's defense, and extensively about Notre Dame, and they've been in a tough situation, and then they've played really bad. They haven't played that bad. They've just been playing good teams, and they're not going to turn the ball over 5 times, really 6 again. You're not going to count on that. That being said, I am behind, and this is a game where I think Notre Dame has the blueprint to win, and I think there are glaring holes on USC's roster. That being said, they do have Caleb Williams, and I know I gave Caleb Williams a lot of stuff that he needs to work on. In this particular situation where I'm behind, I am going to bank. If I'm going to bank on diverting from you, it'll be here with.
Well, it's funny because you're diverting from the take you had earlier this episode. I'm diverting from the take I had last episode. We're just zigging while we're zagging. We're just kind of
never let them know your next move.
Never let them know. Never let them know. Just like Mario, never let them know that you're not going to kneel. Maybe don't do that though this next week when the number 25 ranked Hurricanes take on the number 12 ranked Tar Heels in Chapel Hill at 7:30 on ABC. I get the first pick here. It's very simple. This is going to be, I don't want to say a bludgeoning, but Miami could not lose last week, and they did. It's not going to be a fun morning when they get, I don't want to say boat raced either because we just defined it, but they get beat pretty handedly by Drake May. He's going to throw all over them. No, I got UNC.
And they've got a good rushing attack too. UNC.
Very good. Very good.
It's
balanced. It's balanced.
I have UNC as well.
Yeah, good. Glad we could do that. We can have the Miami conversation at a later date if they kind of play their way into it. How about that?
Yeah.
Because if they prove themselves and they turn it around, whatever, then we'll have the Miami conversation. But until they do so, I don't think it's not a Nick Saban Alabama bit where I'm saying, we'll talk about it next week.
No, this is very serious.
This is very serious. Like, until they show, we won't do it. Auburn taking on the number 22 ranked LSU Tigers, 7:00 Eastern on ESPN. This was the final of the 5 wide games that we added. And I wanted to add it because, and I pushed for it, full disclosure, because I think LSU is the conversation we had earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what they are. They are done in the SEC. They already have multiple SEC losses. And no, I'm sorry, they don't have multiple. They have one SEC loss. The other one's to Florida State. But they're done in terms
from a college
of
football playoff perspective.
And the reason I said they're done and their season's over is because that was the expectation for LSU this year, especially when people didn't know what was going to go on with Alabama, when A&M was laughable, as they still are. Nobody expected Ole Miss to look as good as they expected them to be Ole Miss and put up points, but not to look as good as they have, and to lose and to actually lose to them, LSU did. So I don't know. I don't know what this program and what this fan base is feeling. I got to text my cousin Vinny, an LSU alum and an LSU fan. I got to kind of get his perspective, and I'll report that next week. But I'm curious to see what this game is, because Auburn can be tricky. We know that Hugh Freeze has things up his sleeve and wins games that he shouldn't win. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. You get the first pick here, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I get the first pick here.
You get the first pick.
Sorry, I get the first pick here. I'm going to pick LSU because on paper and my logic tells me that they're at home and it's a night game in Death Valley, and we know that that's a legit thing. But man, I don't know what this defense is. We talked about it earlier, and if your defense isn't even like passable, we've seen it we see how good the LSU offense is, but it's not like Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma good, where it can really transcend a horrific defense. I don't know what this team's identity is, because when you're so stark and so different on both sides of the ball, it's kind of, I don't know. It's weird. I may have just rambled for 2 minutes, but like, I'm going to pick them because it's a night game in Death Valley and they have a better roster. That's literally the reason why. What do you think?
Well, I'm trying to find, because I need to pick up some points from you. I can't keep dilly-dallying. So I'm really.
And you're going to put your hand. You're going to put that in the hands of Hugh Freeze.
I'm trying to find reasons to go for Auburn, but it's not. Look,
you make up points in the 2
Auburn
points.
has won, I think, one time in Death Valley since the 90s. And it was Bo Nix like a couple of years ago.
Jeez.
The
Ed Orgeron year, the year he got fired.
Yeah. Like that's the first time that Auburn has beaten LSU in Death Valley. Like since like Cole Kublik played for Auburn. Like he was there on that team. And
wow. So
it's hard. Auburn's just so meh as far as like from a roster perspective. They gave Georgia a really tough time. They couldn't do anything against Texas A&M, and they're just their roster's okay. It's very new. Their offense doesn't really have any explosives. Hugh Freeze is a good coach, and he figures things out and he stays in games. But I will say now Missouri looked better than I thought they would against LSU's defense. Because LSU's defense doesn't know what it's Swiss cheese.
But I think we also established that that's Missouri being good.
But that was the thing though. So like Auburn isn't even to that level. I think where like Missouri looked better than I thought they would, but Missouri had been playing well on offense all year. Auburn's I think just still figuring it out, and I want to go with Auburn, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to go with it. LSU.
Smart move. Make this one a wash.
I wanted to try and be there. I think I'm going to have to do it with my 2 point. I'm just going to have to get lucky.
Last 5 wide, number 18 UCLA taking on number 15 Oregon State. 8:00 kickoff Eastern on Fox. Whew.
I go first here.
So. I know, but I'm thinking about who I want. You go first.
UCLA proved a lot in a win against Washington State last week, where they really shut them down, and 24-17, pretty standard score. But UCLA has been playing a lot of ground and pound, which is Oregon State's whole game. That they were able to shut out on a dynamic passing offense. Dante Moore's been fine. Chip Kelly's got an interesting squad. They're doing what they got to win. This is going to be a very physical game. I'm going to go with Oregon State because I both Chip Kelly and Jonathan Smith are excellent offensive minds. I think that Oregon State personnel-wise is a little bit closer to, I think, what they want to be than this season for UCLA so far screams to me more. I don't even know if this is the way Chip Kelly wants his football. I think it's mostly what he wants his football to be like. But I do feel like they're being more physical and running more because they kind of have to, or like they're choosing to do that. Oregon State is playing the way Oregon State wants to play, and
maximizing DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Oregon State.
Well, I want to have some fun, so I'll pick UCLA. Let me be real. I could
totally see it happening.
Well, here's the thing. I picked Washington State to beat UCLA last week in a picks pool I'm in. I had a horrible week with the picks pool, and they got beat, and it was pretty convincing. Like, I mean, in the UCLA style they're playing this year, but it was pretty convincing. And so it's not out of the question that UCLA can go in and do that against Oregon State, a team that we think is probably the third best team in the conference behind Oregon and Washington State, or in Washington, I think. So, I have no problem simultaneously having fun and being like, yeah, I'll root for the team that I think can go in there and steal one. So I'll take UCLA.
Nice.
And for our 2 points, Tyler, there's a bunch of fun games. Like on Thursday, we have West Virginia and Houston. I wish Houston was going to West Virginia instead of the other way around, because I kind of would have wanted Dana Holgorsen to go back. But instead, it is in Houston. That's a 7:00 kick on Thursday, FS1. We got Tulane, Memphis on Friday night, Stanford, Colorado on Friday night. We got Michigan State, Rutgers in a, oh boy, I can't believe they're playing that game, bowl on the Big Ten Network at noon on Saturday. Iowa State, Cincinnati at noon on Saturday, FS1. So many fun games, Tyler, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double down on the Wyoming Cowboys. I'm going for 2 in a row. I'm going to have them I'm having them head to Colorado to take on the Air Force Academy in Colorado. I think they can go ahead and beat Fresno State at home. They can turn it around.
Air Force
and
is tough.
They can establish themselves as the number 1 team in the Mountain West. This is one of the more fun stories of the year. I am hoping Wyoming wins. I'm going to put my 2 point on them to go back-to-back. 7:00 Eastern kick on CBS Sports Network. Tyler, who do you have for your 2 point?
That's a good pick. I like that.
Thank you.
I like
and
it
a good narrative, too. I can try to go back-to-back.
Yeah.
Maybe I do the back-to-back perfect. Who knows?
Oh, boy. All right, yeah.
Who do you got for your 2 point?
You believe that. For 2 point, I am going to stick with the group of 5 as well. I'm going to go with battle of 2 little heavyweights going down south right now. I'm going to go with James Madison over the Georgia Southern the Golden Eagles.
Listeners, a little peek behind the curtain. When we were trying to decide the final 5-wide game, Tyler suggested that first, and I was like, oh, yes, we got him. We got him to watch tons of G5 football.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, Georgia Southern going to James Madison noon on ESPN2. It's Georgia Southern is 4-1, 1-0 in conference. James Madison 5-0, 2-0 in conference. They're pretty comparable stats wise in most ways. And so I'm very interested. I'm gonna go James Madison. This is a big deal. This is a big deal down there.
It is indeed. I like the pick. I think they're going to win as well. Once again, NCAA, shame on you for many, many reasons, but this specific one, for just let them play in the postseason. Tyler,
I'm sorry. It's
fine. Don't apologize for that. That's so
stupid. I would say this should decide something in the Sun Belt, but evidently it won't.
I kind of want them to, like, pro wrestling style, the week before the conference championship, be like, we've now declared James Madison eligible for the conference and championship and postseason. And they, like, literally 6 days before find out that they're eligible, and they go in and they win. That's what I want to do.
They did that to Tez Walker. What stopped him from doing it to a whole team?
Proof of concept. Precedent's been set. Just saying. Tyler, before we head out of here, let's stop by Florida Corner. The Gators take on South Carolina, 3:30 Eastern on the SEC Network. You think we win this game?
I think so.
Even though it's on the road in Columbia?
It's 50-50 to me. Here's the thing. South Carolina does not have a good run defense.
No.
And this is unfortunately, this is the truth with Florida this season. Because we've seen in the Billy Napier offense that passing yards, the ability to pass the football does not equate to offensive success necessarily, stats wise,
Correct.
Graham Mertz has played excellent through 6 games. I don't have a lot of complaints. He's not Anthony Richardson, and we knew that, but he's been way better than I thought he would be. Passing wise, we had a pretty good game against Vanderbilt, and our weapons have been better than I thought they would because they were not very good last year. Mm-hmm. Trevor Etienne didn't even play last game. Montrell Johnson showed out, but
yeah,
I think that's the key is the rushing attack, is the ability to start hot with the rushing attack. South Carolina does not have a good defense. Shane Bieber is, though, a crafty coach. They're 2-3. This is a dangerous spot. They're up on the road. Billy Napier's teams don't really play well on the road. I did like, I don't know if this will work because I don't, but I did like that Billy Napier is changing the Gator strategy for how they travel because it shows that he is really trying to fix this problem.
He is.
Like,
he is. And again, I know everyone's going to yell from the rooftop.
That's what I want to see because I don't know if sleeping an extra night in Columbia, South Carolina will be the answer.
No,
But
I mean, listen, it's not a replacement for hiring offensive and special teams coordinators, which is something that I know you and I and a large group of us who follow Florida football want, but that's not going to happen in the middle of October. That's going to happen in the offseason. So
but
I'm
these are
glad that
changes that you can make.
exactly, he's trying things now. We want the big changes to be made at the end of the season, but control what you can control right now. And for those saying, yeah, you can just like fire or bring someone in, like you can't do it in the middle of the season. And if you do, it's someone that clearly nobody else wanted because that's why they're available right now. So let's push that thought to December and January instead of here in October.
This is, I will say, like it's like I think Florida can win this game. It's totally a toss up to me, honestly,
Agreed.
because South Carolina has played crafty but has lost a lot of games. They didn't really play that well against Tennessee, and Tennessee was able to run all over them. And it's one of the things. If Florida can run well, this will be a good day for them. Their defense has played relatively well, except for getting pushed around at Kentucky. And I don't think South Carolina can necessarily push you around, but a lot of that has to do with preparation. Billy Napier's teams, especially on the road, have come out looking unprepared. And if this new approach solves that, or maybe just their preparation these past few weeks solves that, amen, A+. I think that'll give them the edge. Because I do think Florida's better than South Carolina, but I don't know if they match up well. Being in Columbia is a real big factor here. Just being on the road. My dad will actually be at this game with his friends.
I was going to ask, your dad typically does a road SEC game every year. I was going to ask if this is the one. I
was on the phone with him today, and this is the one he'll be attending.
That's fun.
I think this is a very important game for Florida to win for this season because the back half of this schedule is real tough.
5-2 into the bye is very different from 4-3 into the bye. And we all know what comes after a Florida Gators bye week. So we can talk about that later.
Well, it's but also, like, I'm going to be completely honest. Getting to 6 wins, this game is massive. And I agree. And that's not really a referendum on the team because this schedule is insane this year. It really is. And now Missouri, one of the few weak spots in the back end, is
like really good. Yeah.
LSU's on the road. Missouri is on the road, and they're good. FSU is at home, but FSU looks incredible. And
but they're a playoff team.
That's 4 of the next 6 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to win South Carolina and hope you get an upset. And I'm forgetting one other team, but
you didn't mention Arkansas at home, which looks like it's going to be better.
Arkansas is doable. So like you can get to 6 wins, I think, but that's if you take care of business and beat the teams that you should, which is not a guarantee under Billy Napier. It's also not a guarantee that you'll lose to the teams that you're worse at. But this is an important game.
I think it's a program setter in that sense of, hey, we can go on the road and win a game that we're going to be competitive in and should be winning kind of thing. I'm not saying we should be, this isn't you have to win no matter what, like Vanderbilt, but this is on the lines of Kentucky where it's going to be tough. We want to go and I think we can win. I want to win, but if we lose, it gives me a better perspective as to where the program is at. I understand I'm much more optimistic and have a lot more patience than the average Florida fan. And sometimes to the criticism of some of our close friends, that criticism is fair. I will admit that. Yeah. I am too. You and I are both naturally too patient with that. I get that. This game, though, to me is going to be an indicator of, okay, maybe I can start to, I don't want to say completely buy into or believe some of the things that our friends and other fans are saying, but I can definitely maybe start to take it a bit more credible.
Yeah, I have to see. They have to be more prepared.
But schematically for this game, you're right. We can run all over them.
Schematically, Florida matches up well in this game. Their defense has been playing well, other than the Kentucky game.
And ETN didn't play last week, so he should be good to go this week. And hopefully the injury is not that bad. And then also on top of that, like Spencer Rattler, he's got a cannon of an arm. But the only other quarterback this year that we've played that has a quote unquote cannon of an arm was with Tennessee. And if you can't hit that big play, which we've shown that we can at the very least limit, I don't want to say completely stop, but we can limit that kind of offense. We've shown it against a better version in Tennessee. I'm not saying that Carolina runs that kind of offense, but there's parts of it. I don't know. Schematically, I think it matches up. But like you said, the road, big thing. We haven't had a big road statement win under Napier. I really think we need to get that this week. I hope.
Yeah, and like I said, the big question mark for me is preparation. It's just because his teams this season, especially on the road, have not looked prepared, and they've looked. And the only reason I bring that up is because they look starkly prepared in the swamp. And
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but you've got to fix that. And this is gonna he recognizes that, which has been great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if it yields results.
And I don't believe that they prepare differently for a road game than they do a home game, and that's why we're seeing that. I just think that I truly think this is a good thing to try out, because I think that maybe it is the day you arrive. Maybe it is the routine that you know what I mean? He's someone that has everything scheduled from the off season, like a complete 12-month plan of what he does. So when you throw that off in a way with a road game, maybe he's trying to make the road games feel more like a home game routine, you know?
Yeah.
And that's only the people in the program know that. And as long as it gets results, none of us care. So
yeah,
there you go. Tyler, that's going to wrap it up this week. Do you have anything to say before we head out?
No, very excited for this week of football. Excellent week last week, and big primetime matchups this week. Both of our professional teams won this past week.
Yes, they did.
I did a favor for you.
Appreciate it.
Jaguars and the Bills in the AFC standings.
I do want to give, and this is not me being petty. I'm being 100% serious. It does kind of like, not kind of, it does. It kind of breaks my heart a bit that the Bills just keep getting players down with injuries. Like, I want to beat the Bills, but I also want to beat the Bills at their best. Like, I want to play them at their best.
Well, they're signing Josh Norman to the cornerback room, so you're not getting that.
Well, considering the fact Eli Apple is rostered at the moment for the Miami Dolphins, I can't say anything. So. Jalen Ramsey, please heal up and come back.
Exciting week of football coming up. A lot of while it wasn't necessarily the greatest 5 wide, it's a really great 2-point conversion. Look at it. So there's a lot of lower level games that are very interesting this week.
Yes. There's a new rivalry game. FAU takes on USF. Hello.
Let's do it.
Big time games this week, but definitely Oregon Washington is what we're looking forward to the most. 3:30 Eastern ABC. Please watch that game. Like, that is so good.
I'm gonna be glued.
It's crazy. This is going to be one of the rare moments where the Gator game is relegated to the second screen and not the first.
I think it's fair.
I think it's fair. So.
This is a huge game for the entire outcome of the season.
Mm-hmm. I got a new job, and they gave me a work computer, which I'm purposely keeping separate from my personal computer that I bought to replace, but it does mean an extra screen on Saturdays. So, just saying. Tyler, this has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, Tyler, but we always take a knee under 1 minute to go.
You damn right.
And go Gators.